A recent McKinsey study of 2022 talked about the highest rate ever in which women in leadership positions are quitting their jobs or making a switch. And this rate is even higher than that of men at senior leadership positions. Hi, my name is Karishma Manchanda, and I am here to talk to you about the real reasons why women are quitting the jobs in leadership positions. I'm a certified diversity and inclusion consultant and a trainer, and I offer help to all those people who are looking forward to build up their career in diversity and inclusion space. So let's dive into the critical reasons as to why women in leadership positions are leaving their jobs or making a switch. And when women leave leadership positions, what is it that we are doing as an organization and what we must be doing instead? So, before I dive into the deeper aspects of what needs to be done, it is important for us to also understand certain misconceptions that we always have in our mind, especially people who are in the D&I strategic position stage where they have their conceptions, or I would say misconceptions and myths, and then they take up decisions of retention and ensuring to have gender diversity, which actually goes for a toss. So let's start with these misconceptions one by one. The first one talks about the fact that many people assume a woman to quitting or leaving or making a switch is because she does not have the right ambition to push herself and become a better leader. She does not have that ambition to rise up the ladder. She, or perhaps she's juggling with too many responsibilities at home, maybe elderly care or child care. Or perhaps she isn't really negotiating for new roles. She is comfortable in a space where she is, and therefore she does not want to grow. Another myth or a misconception that comes up in the minds of many is that she does not have the right leadership skills in the first place. And that is why you would see a lot of organizations, they are trying to work out a plan where they align women in leadership positions with external management development programs from IIMs and XLRI and other ACE grade B schools, which talk about development of leadership traits. And most of the time, it does not give you results, typically because it is a misconception, a myth that by putting a woman on these kind of management development programs, they will be able to retain women for a longer duration or help her build the right skill set for taking up a leadership position. The next myth that comes up very often is perhaps she is just not interested in being a leader. She is okay doing the kind of work that she is doing. She does not really want to grow in the organization. She is in a comfort zone. And last but not the least, it takes a lot of courage and confidence for somebody to move up, and perhaps she does not have the confidence to take up the challenges that come up with high responsibilities of being a leader. And with these conceptions in the mind, many people who are in the strategic positions, making the programs of diversity and inclusion in the workplace, they tend to fall one or a combination of these following things that organizations generally do. It is, I would say, a limiting output of what they believe, and therefore the intent with which they should be approaching the cause of diversity and inclusion gets malified, because in the practice I've seen that many organizations really pick because and one of these way forward as a corrective measure because of their own prejudice and own biases, which tend to make them understand that one size fits all, which typically does not happen when we are talking about a woman's setup. And these are the things that most of the organizations typically end up doing. Number one, they tend to send the female leader to fit one size fits all training model, which I mentioned earlier. We need to understand women are different from men. Their growth is different from men. Their lifestyle, life choices, life responsibilities, life stages, and the load that they share about the family and the family well-being is different from men. So when we tend to put them in a bucket and say, okay, this is the leadership module that we have for the organization, and all men and women should be coming forward and going through the same leadership platform, same leadership training, and be able to transform themselves into leaders, does not fit here, because the reasons because of which they are not adhering to the normal growth of becoming a leader, growing in the organization, or probably switching the jobs, is typically because their needs, wants, and desires, their values, and the expectations from themselves and the work that they're doing is different. The next thing that most organizations tend to do also stems out of the same fact that the previous one was talking about, is that they do not really understand the role intersectionality plays at the workplace, and very much so in the life of a woman. So what they tend to do is they over mentor and under sponsor her. They tend to give a lot of advice rather than helping her take strategic initiative to move forward in her journey step by step. So there's going to be a lot of advice, there's going to be a lot of counseling, there's going to be a lot of career aspirations and inspirations given to her. There will be a lot of job profile offerings and lucrative offers made to her, but no one really teaches her that in the situation where she is, how does she navigate her journey to really reach that place where she's required to act as a leader. Then the third thing is where I have found in practice that most of the organizations tend to work on the symptoms that are being presented by women, rather than really addressing the main core issue for not choosing a leadership position or making a switch before she's been offered a leadership position. Or once she's attained the leadership position, she wants to move laterally into a lesser responsible role, which has lower level of accountabilities, because organizations tend to provide her with executive coaching under somebody who is either, number one, may not be as good of an or as effective of a leader. Second, may not be the right person to actually do life coaching. So life coaching itself is a skill, and not every leader has that skill. It is a separate skill set that needs to be worked out over a period of time, practice again and again, to really become an effective life coach. So rather than only becoming a mentor for a woman at that position, one needs to be also acting as a life coach to help her navigate through the different complexities that her um, intersectional dimensions are posing onto her. And in the absence of the right kind of person who can guide her through, who can navigate through the process with her, being empathetic, having the right kind of emotional intelligence while dealing with her, tends to put the woman off, and therefore does not work in most exemplary setups that the organizations tend to follow. The next one is that most organizations tend to do is that they place her into a gender focused role or a path where, for example, a woman is supposed to be a go-getter. A woman is supposed to be fighting for the bid or conducting a demo which is beyond the norms of gender representations, and she's expected to perform more masculine roles and undermining her femininity. By virtue of being a woman, there are certain inherent uh, traits that a woman has, which could be nurturing, but could be uh, empathy, which could be associated with her being a woman. And instead of leveraging on those qualities that she brings to the table, organizations tend to put her into a difficult waters by giving her a more stereotyped gender enriched role where she is required to move up the ladder by force, by going beyond her own self, by extending her boundaries. And this is being perceived very positively by the organizations. But the point is that when a person is not being able to be his or her authentic self at work, it is likely to rather I would say in almost all cases, this will happen, that she will not be able to bring the best. She will not be able to deliver her best, and she will not be able to leverage the inherent skills that she brings to the table for which she was actually hired. And that is where the clash of values also start to happen over a period of time, where she decides, or she may decide, to take a back step or move laterally into other dimensions, other areas, other roles, which are more aligned to her core traits, her core values and motives, with which she wants to grow and bring forward her authenticity to the workplace and the role that she's delivering. And last but not the least, if even if she's trying to do and come up to the pace of the expectations of the organization, organizations tend to, uh, people generally use the word punish, and that's the reason I put it in double quotes. It's more like that you are giving her additional work assignment, you're putting additional responsibility, but you're not offering her the benefits or the promotions or the opportunities or the bonuses or the compensation that needs to come along with. And I'll give you one example here. Um, I There was one of my students who had taken up the full course on becoming a certified D&I consultant, and she shared her growth journey where she felt being gender biased at work, primarily because she was a woman. She was a person who was an SME and more of a person who was a lone wolf, a one man army. And just because of the fact that she was an introvert, though doing fantastically well, quality work, everything, but the organizations always demeaned her for not being able to be in a role where she's mentoring a team, and therefore not giving her the right kind of promotional opportunities, and her pay package was also being deteriorated over a period of time as compared to her peers of similar experience who were having a team. Now, she had this thing in her mind that I'm being treated unfairly. I'm being given a role which is a difficult one, and it is the role which is given to me by the organization. Though I'm doing fantastically well, and I do prefer this particular role over the other, but at the end, I am contributing to the organization with the kind of role that I'm doing. But when it comes to my promotions are delayed. When it comes to the bonuses or the compensation which other people are getting, that is not being granted to me. There is a disparity over a period of time which has been created, and the pay package is evident. The designation difference is evident. So this is how, even despite giving extra work, even by the managers being pushing that you should be doing this, and then therefore you will be coming into the limelight and you'll be getting promotion. So she kept doing all of that. She kept picking up small little assignments over and above her general role and trying to uh, present her value to the organization. But at the end, the organization still continue to believe that she is an independent SME, single contributor person, not really a team manager, and therefore she should not be given promotion, or she should be growing the pace that other people, her other counterparts, are being promoted. So that is how organizations tend to punish women who have not been taking up uh, higher responsibilities for certain reasons that are beyond uh, the understanding of the organization at a very corporate level. So, what is it that the organizations can do instead? The actual reason why we are losing women in leadership segment, and this game of quitting the job or moving laterally, or um, completely, leaving the organization, moving to another organization, all those things really start to happen, not really at a very senior position. It also starts to happen at the middle leadership level, when the woman is also going on through a lot of changes in her personal life or home front, and therefore there is a gap between organizations who have, even they when they have hired or good gender ratio at the grassroots level, let's say 0 to 5 years existed as 7 years of experience, but as they keep moving up and up the ladder, the gender disparity starts to increase, and the gender ratio starts to become less and less impactful. And hardly 1 to 3% of women in India are generally making up to the top leadership positions vis-a-vis men. And this is where the organizations really need to dive deeper into understanding what is that they are not doing right. And the main reason, this is the recent study, is that the actual reason women are losing out in is because they feel undervalued, because they feel underutilized, because they feel overworked. They experience these feelings typically because they feel that there is a lack of advancement, there is insufficient resources and opportunities, they've been unequally treated, they are there's a misplacement of support. On the face of it, they feel that they're supported, but in the real true sense they don't feel the support. And there is a great deed of misalignment in the values of what they are looking forward to and what the organization is looking forward to. And there is nobody who's really trying to bridge the gap of the beliefs that are causing this disparity. There is another important reason here to understand is that the organizations are also working on these symptoms rather than talking about the real reasons why a woman is moving out. And one of the most important reasons is the difference in the alignment of values between the woman and the manager. Uh, in India, where most of us are still going through the stage of evolution and trying to figure out our steps in the D&I journey as an organization, uh, managers who are the closest associate of any team member, they are not trained or equipped to handle the stages of women and show the right kind of emotional intelligence and empathy here. And let me give one example. Um, when I was working with one of the organizations, and I was having focus group discussion with a woman employee, about her frustrations of feeling that this organization is not fair and inclusive. And she said that there was once, and she could give an example where she was to have a half an hour call with the manager and other team members, and she was working from home. She had a year-old baby, and though she had already announced that I might not be available for the call, but then she somehow managed to attend the call. The meeting overstretched beyond half an hour. The child was sleeping during that half an hour. After 45 minutes, the child got up and the child started to cry in the back end. And since she was a single mother, she did not have much support from the family. She just asked the manager to just give her 2 minutes to settle down the baby, and then she'll be back on the call. And in that 2-minute conversation, though she herself was on mute, but she could hear the conversation coming from the other side, the manager started making passing disparaging remarks about her and said that, "No, this is why I do not encourage women in my team. This is why I do not allow work from home. People are not really working and they're only taking care of their household responsibilities. Who's going to be doing the work?" And though she was feeling humiliated because that kind of disparaging remarks and disrespectful remarks were passed on to her in front of the entire team, what really happened was the next day, when another team member approached and for a team meeting, and she requested if the team meeting could be rescheduled for the next day, as her entire day is already pre-planned for other engagements. This person, team member, had sent a written complaint to that particular manager that this woman is again not available for the discussion. Even though the reason was that her entire day schedule was pre-planned and she had to submit certain assignments, but because the boss had already set the tone for the team against that particular woman, the other people, instead of trying to be empathetic towards her, lending support to her, helping her manage the difficult phase of her life, and supporting and respecting diversity and inclusion at workplace, helping her feel more included in the team despite her situation, made the life even more difficult for her. And this tended to became and this actually became a spiral downward spiral for her, and over a period of time she felt so demotivated, struggling between her work and as a single parent at home, that she finally decided to quit the job. Though this example is of a woman who was in her middle career, about 15 years of experience, but this is a life story of many women at the workplace. So, what is it that the organizations can do instead becomes very, very important in such scenario? Because as a D&I expert, we have to understand that leadership training plays a very important role in cultivating a garden where plants thrive. It is important for us to understand that, especially when we are talking about a woman at workplace who have to go through different phases, and there are different dimensions of intersectionality that are playing with a woman at any point in time. She may be a woman, she may be also a mother, she may be married, she may be unmarried, she may be divorced, separated, she may have elderly responsibility, she will also have to take care of the household responsibility. And there are also, a lot of women who wants to move forward in life, they want to invest in themselves also, but are they finding time for all that? So there are different ways and means in which women really need support, and the way intersectionality plays a role. And unless we really have the right kind of leadership training and sensitivity in all organizations, it is difficult for managers to really create an inclusive work environment where people in general can thrive. And especially when we're talking about women whose career growth path is not as linear as men, they do require additional support and additional consideration at different stages of life. So, what really happens in if you have a garden? If you have a garden, you have seeds that you planted. Even if it is the same kind of soil, you would require the different seeds would require specialized soil, right? They would require the right soil to grow, they would require the right nutrients, and for different seeds that you would plant into that particular garden, you would require different temperature requirement, they will having different water requirement, nutrient requirement, humidity, climate, so many things. So one size does not fit all in any kind of a setup. And similarly, even for human beings, one blanket way of looking at things close mindedly, single focusedly, will not be able to adhere to the needs and wants of different segments of diversity that we're talking about at workplace. And so, therefore, for a woman to be feeling belonged into an organization, to be feeling nourished and welcomed in an organization, she would require different ways of being dealt with, different perspectives, and different kind of support at different phases of her lifetime and her career growth in the organization. So you need to understand as an organization, as a D&I specialist, that the organization has to be more inclusive, not only towards women that we're talking about, but at large to every single being, because human beings are unique. We cannot bucketize them in one particular framework. So here's a suggested list of things that organizations should be doing. First and foremost, it is the leadership support and the support of uh, people in the leadership position who really can provide opportunities and honor experiences. We know that women do not always travel the same leadership growth paths that we have. And we know that women are always not having a linear curve when it comes to career uh, promotions and opportunities being provided to them. So there is always a possibility to go laterally, go backward, go forward, take a break, take a pause. And in general, this is seen very negatively by people, and sometimes people also perceive that this is a threat to the organization and this may impact other people in the team as well. And therefore, managers are not trained to look at these moves and motives of women who are going through different stages of their lifetime. In today's day and age, where navigating complexity is very, very important, it is important for us to also be able to have multiple different experiences within and outside the organization. And it is the nurturing of these different beliefs and different intersectionalities that amalgamate and bring experiences within the organization that we are truly able to foster innovation and cater to the needs of the diverse workforce that we have. See, at the end, the point is that we need to help women perform as a leader, and for that, are we equipped? As leaders, we may not be in a position to always offer uh, a customized circumstance or a customized situation to a woman as a solution, but are we making an effort? Are we being sensitive? Are we helping her navigate the complexities of her life? Maybe she wants to work from home, maybe she is not able to come to office full time and not able to adhere to the mandate. Is that being adhered or looked at negatively by other people in the organization? Can there be flexibility given to her? As a leader, she may be a subject matter expert. So, why is there a need or mandate for her to become a people manager when she is more of a technical person? Similarly, she can be a leader and she can be one man army or for that matter one woman army. But is it the fact that she is being supported where by the organization, if the organization is willing to find alternatives and alternative ways to perceive what leader should be instead of fixing her into a one predefined notion that this is how the organization looks at a leader and this is how she should be operating. So are we open to that mindset that a leader can be somebody other than what I as a person perceive her to be or a leader to be for that matter? The second point here is that we need to organize or devise certain support programs that emphasize in creating and maintaining healthy, inclusive, high performing teams. And this really starts with um, the organizations ready to invest in the team when the team is okay. Most of the organizations start to invest in a team when they see that the team is breaking down, and that is the problem because then what we're trying to do is we tend to fix what is being broken rather than we're trying to build a solid foundation on which diversity, inclusion, belonging, and thrive. So there are different ways and means in which the organizations can do. And before somebody reaches a stage where the environment becomes toxic or the team has completely fallen apart or the manager is losing out a lot of people in that particular team because of the toxic environment, before we reach to that place, as D&I consultants and specialists, it is our responsibility to be able to see through that crack before it starts to really happen, devise programs, emphasizing and creating, maintaining healthy, inclusive, high-performing teams. And this may come in terms of policies and procedures and system improvements and providing flexibilities and there are different ways in which organizations are doing this. The next point really comes at two is the organizations who are moving up in or they're amping up on their D&I agenda. They have policies in place that empower managers with autonomy and provide flexibility to the team members and needs. So every team need is different and every team needs a different level of autonomy. One size does not fit all. Each member has unique team, each member has unique circumstances, their own choices and requirements are different. So have we given enough flexibility to the managers? Have we given enough autonomy to the managers to customize and allow flexibility in work schedule, flexibility uh, in providing opportunities, flexibility in providing different rules to a particular person based on the complexities and the nuances of the intersectionality that takes place at the workplace, rather than bucketizing people and excluding people who are not fitting into the norm and labeling them as outliers. At the end, the idea of building a inclusive, holistic, high performing team is that we look at people who are cultural adds rather than cultural fits. The moment that we try to fit somebody into a bucket, that is where we start to build bridges in in the team and we try to move away further away from diversity and inclusion at workplace. The next important point to understand here about what organizations can really do to make this work is that they train the leaders on how to be great mentors and coaches, allies, and sponsors. So there was once a man I was coaching, and he told me that his female direct reportee who was to be promoted, when we was having a conversation with her, she very outrightly said that she is fairly reluctant to take up a new position, and as a result, he had to pass on that opportunity to somebody else who was less competent and lesser ready to take up that particular role. And he was not very sure why did she do that, and that is what his question to me was, that what could be a possible reason. And my answer was very, very straight and direct. I asked him to act like a coach and help her find answers to her reluctance to take up the next position. Showing reluctance, saying a no to a new growth opportunity is just the tip of the iceberg. What lies deeper is to be unearthed. What are the motives? What are the agendas? What are the beliefs? What is she carrying in her head that is preventing her from taking up a new position? Because today it is just one particular person who's not being able to who's declined this particular opportunity, but tomorrow, this can be a game for many other women who will be coming up in his team. And he cannot always be passing on the role to a man. So, what is it in his team that he needs to work upon or provide additional support to that particular woman so that she is able to come up the ladder, especially when the organizations these days have very strong mandate coming from the top management that they need to focus on their D&I agenda, especially maintaining a good gender ratio. So the last one here is, before I move on, is as an organization, one needs to identify the root causes of women leaving the organization or quitting the leadership roles, and use them to make necessary changes. As we move forward, we will be also recognizing how it is important for us as an organization to create sponsor programs and create supportive, healthy workplace culture where people feel more included. And all of this comes as an out result of providing workplace flexibility, work from home, option, daycare support, corporate types with medical assistance, elderly care, and so on and so forth. Because every person's need is different. It's not just only women, they may have more complexities, but it is for every person who's a part of the organization. So instead of only focusing at providing certain sponsorship programs for women or creating specific um, support systems for women, the idea is to bring the entire workplace together at the same time and provide same kind of support. Otherwise, you'll end up being labeled as diversity exclusive rather than diversity included organization, because then the other genders will come forward and say that what about me, or why is it not for me. So here the idea is to have deeper conversations, have focused discussions with women, with ERGs, try to understand the nuances of why this is happening in your organization. If your organization is one who's facing high rates of attrition with women, and this is exactly what we also teach in our certification course that we offer about becoming a diversity and inclusion professional and consultant, to really dive deeper on how to use design thinking platform as a tool to go back, have the discussion, empathize with the needs and wants, create programs, implement pilot, see the results, and then go back again with a full blown program that supports the entire organization's D&I agenda. In case you really wish to explore more about this particular course, the link is in the description box below. And then we also can look forward to other support mechanisms such as teaching allyship and sponsorship to people in general, not on managers alone. And also, we need to recognize that allyship is an important constituent. And anybody can be an ally. Ally can also be a person who's standing up for the other person, who is motivating the other person, who is helping the other person voice his or her own needs. And sponsorship is typically coming from the leadership positions of the managers who are ready to sponsor the change that is happening in the organization. And last but not the least, we need to develop our managers and supervisors as real people, leaders and real people managers rather than just focusing on the technical growth and skills and giving them promotions year on year. The idea is that unless somebody is really in a position of influence, have the right set of emotional empathy and skills to really be a good people manager, more inclusive people manager, we will not be able to spread the positive effect of diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, and belongingness at workplace. And there will always be people who will be looking out. Today we're talking about women. Tomorrow it could be another segment of men. Maybe later, if you have PWDs, that could be affected. It could be any other genders that could be affected if we have in the organization. So the idea is that you really need to dive deeper to understand what is it that is affecting and how can you really create safe, psychologically positive space for people to come forward, raise their concerns, get addressed, get right kind of support and sponsorship from the organization and people who are there at influencing positions. So in so if you really have that knack of becoming a D&I consultant, or if you're already a seasoned D&I professional, but you really want to amp up your skills and understand how to use uh, the right awareness, the right knowledge, right attitude, right skills to transform an organization, then the Upgrade HRM has certain specific courses typically designed for people who are looking forward to take up a consultative position in the organization, or even people who really wish to take up freelancing courses and help other organizations become more inclusive. Uh, While there are many organizations who do offer, what is unique about Upgrade HRM is that it is a once in a lifetime opportunity. It is not one simple course that has been done and dusted. So it is a 1 year long course for somebody who's really looking to become a consultant. And you start with first 3 levels of becoming a D&I professional. And if you have the knack of becoming a consultant, then you can also take up courses on becoming a D&I trainer, where even if they've been into training earlier or not, this course will take you through this the entire instructional design and how to really create different modules for diversity and inclusion and even otherwise. And at the end, you will also be talking about uh, coaching the recruitment team, becoming a certified D&I recruiter yourself, as to how to really kill the bias that happens during the recruitment and selection process, because that is one major area where most of the exclusion, I would say, really happens. So, if you're really looking forward to this opportunity, the link is in the description box below, and I look forward to connecting with you there. The key benefits of working on a DNI project with Upgrade HRM is, first of all, it is definitely a full online course. It is self-paced course. It is a multi-skill course, as I mentioned earlier. It amalgamates the needs of a DNA professional at a very holistic level. Uh, as a DNA professional, you'll be learning how to create DNA initiatives that give business results. It is linked with your business strategy because we use major tools around balance scorecard technique and design thinking methodology to really create impactful programs for your organization that are exactly there for your organization, suiting your culture and giving you the business results that your organization requires rather than picking up the best practices from a competitor. And also, if you are somebody who is just into a training field and you want to upgrade your skill set, then you can only pick up DNI certified trainer course. And similarly, if you're just a recruiter who is not really interested in full blown course of DNI, then you can only take up DNI recruitment course. The key USP, I would say, is that this is one project where, or one certification course where you will be going through creation of a capstone project for each of these three courses as a DNI professional trainer and recruiter, which helps you utilize your skill set whatever you've learned in the course into an actual tangible action plan, which is keeping the organization in mind. When you create this capstone project, it becomes a ready reckoner, a bible for you to start implementing the initiatives that are linked with this strategy that are going to give results to your organization. And at the same time, you will be also uh, honing the skills uh, and getting the right kind of mentor directions and mentor support, which is again a lifetime support that you'll be getting with these courses. And of course, the courses are accredited to fully recognized courses. So, this is a bit about me. Do not really want to take much of your time here. You can read more about me on Upgrade HRM or diversity and inclusion.in website. And I do look forward to have you with us for the next course, which we are starting in January 2023. The enrollments are open and we are offering certain discounts, 20% off for somebody who's taking up the full course with us. Uh, it is only applicable for first 10 registrations. So if you're looking forward to becoming uh, DNI